everyone! You have probably heard a lot about climate change and how we should reduce our carbon footprint. But what is it exactly? Does it look like an actual footprint?
A carbon footprint is a mark you leave on the environment that helps not your shoes, but on things that releases harmful gases such as CO2 that is released into the atmosphere. When we use the materials that come from fossil fuels like oil, lignite, and gas, the more fossil fuels we use, the larger our carbon footprint becomes.
You may thinking that only cars release carbon dioxide when driven, but electricity consumption from that car play a major role in our carbon footprint.
We also love our gadgets. They're so handy and useful. But did you know approximately 40% of global CO2 emissions are being emitted from electricity generation through charging these devices? Over the past 2 centuries, mankind's usage of electricity have more than doubled and has thickened the atmosphere's carbon concentrations from 280 million to more than 400 million by volume, and little efforts are being made to remedy this global problem.
Do you know how much electricity our home uses each year?
On average, our household's electricity consumption uses more than 12,000 kilowatt hours per year, and that's 80% of the people in the world who has access to electricity. This figure has since increased in the last decade, mainly due to an increase of urbanization. People said that when temperatures rise, our energy bills can be at their highest. Of course, we increase the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmospheres as well. To prevent high electricity bills and help the environment, we need to keep our homes as energy efficient as possible. Finding ways to save energy and reducing our costs can be a challenge. So where do we start?
Now that we explore the energy consumption of a typical home, let's find out what systems or appliances and electronics uses the most energy, and share tips on how to make our home more energy efficient to curb our electricity costs and reduce our carbon footprint.
These are a breakdown of the biggest energy users in typical home. Air conditioning and heatings, 46%. Water heaters, 14%. Lighting, 13%. TV and other medias, 9%. Other appliances, 4%. As you may know, our electricity usage is measured in kilowatt hours.
When calculating an appliance or a device's energy use, we calculate monthly kilowatt hours by multiplying the number of electric appliance by its wattage, then multiply by the hours used per day, and multiply again by the days of month, and get the kilowatt hour by multiplying that by 0.001 or dividing by 1000.
For example, after work each day, I come home and enjoy my leisure time with light music from my radio. If I have an average of 3 hours to open my radio per night every day, how many kilowatt or how many units are consumed for 1 month?
From the formula, 1 multiply 100 multiply 3 multiply 30 multiply 0.001. The answer is 0.90 kilowatt hours. Across all electronic devices, there is an electronic nameplate that we can refer to see wattage and practice this exercise.
How much carbon footprint are we leaving, or the carbon dioxide emissions we create by electricity use? How much carbon dioxide is produced per kilowatt hour of electricity generation? We can calculate this by multiplying kilowatt hours with the emission factor.
What is an emission factor?
An emission factor is a coefficient which allows us to convert activity data into greenhouse gases emissions. It is the average emission rate of a given source relative to the units of activity or processes. However, emissions from electricity generation vary by source or by type and efficiency of electric power plants. The amount of carbon dioxide produced per kilowatt hours during any period of time will vary according to the sources of electricity supplied to the electric power grid during that time. Therefore, electricity-related carbon dioxide emissions and carbon dioxide emission factors will vary in hourly, daily, monthly, and annually. The emission factor rate will vary among countries because it is calculated on the basis of the composition of their production portfolio. For example, the emission factor of Thailand now is 0.5664 kilograms, equivalent carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. Here are some electricity emission factors from different countries.
Now that we already have the number of emission factors, let's ask practice.
Do you still remember how many units are being consumed by the radio per month? The answer is 0.9 kilowatt hour. The emission factor of Thailand is 0.5664 kilogram equivalent carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. How much carbon dioxide is produced? Again, let's use our formulas. From formulas, kilowatt hours multiply emission factors. That is 0.9 multiplied 0.5664. The answer is 0.51 kilogram equivalent carbon dioxide per kilowatt hours.
From this information, we can solve how much carbon dioxide we emit per home every month. Again, calculation formula for carbon dioxide emission by electricity use is:
If you have an invoice or electricity bills, please look for the amount of kilowatt hours used on consumption. Then we use the amount of kilowatt hours and multiply by the country's emission factors.
from the electricity bill examples, kilowatt hours multiply emission factors equal 831 watts, multiply 0.564 kilogram carbon dioxide. The answer is 470.68 carbon dioxide emission kilogram per month.
How much carbon dioxide do they emit? You know what? A young tree absorbs about 5.9 kilogram carbon dioxide per year, while a 10-year-old tree absorbs almost 22 kilogram per year. So, how many trees do we need to plant to offset our carbon footprint?
If we want to drop electricity usage and lower carbon dioxide emission, we can follow these 4 tips.
Tip number 1. Switch off lights and electrical appliances when we don't use them. Tip number 2. Unplug any appliances that are not in use. Did you know that appliances that are still plugged in keeps using energy even when they're switched off? Even an appliance as small as a coffee pot continues to use energy every time it stays plugged in. Tip number 3. Set the air conditioning at 26 degrees instead of 25 because setting our air conditioning unit 1 degree warmer than our world can cut costs by up to 10%. And lastly, tip number 4. Replacing old appliances by having new high energy efficient models. For example, replacing regular incandescent light bulbs or compact fluorescent with LED bulbs is a big energy saver.
Being eco-friendly is not easy, but we have to start and practice now. If our day-to-day actions are more environmentally friendly, we do not only help the environment, but we can benefit financially, physically, and mentally as well.
So think green
Act green
and go green with YMCA.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.